The Indiana Fever just pulled off the impossible, and A'ja Wilson completely lost it in front of everyone. What happened in Vegas last night wasn't just a playoff upset. It was total humiliation for the two-time MVP who couldn't handle getting exposed by a team missing half their roster. While Caitlyn Clark watched from the sidelines, nursing an ankle injury that's kept her out for 3 games now, her teammates delivered the most savage beatdown of Wilson's career, and the aftermath was absolutely wild. If you're here for the drama, then smash that like button because this story gets crazier. The Fever walked into T-Mobile Arena on January 4th, 2025 with 8 players available. 8. Against the defending champions who were supposed to cruise to another title. Vegas had every advantage possible, including home court, rest days, and a fully healthy roster. But what unfolded over the next 40 minutes left Wilson so rattled she actually stormed off the court before the final buzzer and refused to shake hands with anyone. But that wasn't even the most shocking part. What Lexie Hull said about Wilson after the game has the entire league talking, and you won't believe how personal it got. The tension started building from the opening tip when Aliyah Boston completely locked down Wilson in the post. Every time Wilson tried to establish position, Boston was there pushing her further from the basket. The frustration was visible on Wilson's face by the 5-minute mark when she'd already picked up 2 offensive fouls trying to bulldoze through Boston's defense. Here's what nobody expected, though. The Fever came out running a completely new defensive scheme they'd never shown before. Christy Sides revealed after the game they'd been secretly practicing this zone defense for weeks specifically to neutralize Wilson's mid-range game. And it worked perfectly. Wilson shot 4 for 17 in the first half, her worst playoff shooting performance in 5 years. Meanwhile, Kelsey Mitchell was absolutely torching the Aces from 3-point range, hitting 7 of her first 9 attempts. The real controversy started in the third quarter when Wilson got tangled up with Hull on a screen and threw an elbow that somehow didn't get called. Hull stayed down for 30 seconds while the Vegas crowd cheered. That's when things got ugly. Naylissa Smith immediately got in Wilson's face and had to be held back by officials. The refs reviewed the play for 5 minutes, but somehow decided it was just incidental contact. Even the ESPN commentators couldn't believe it, with Rebecca Lobo saying on air, "This looks intentional to me." What happened next would shock everyone in the building. Hull got up, walked straight to Wilson during the next timeout, and said something that made Wilson's eyes go wide. Multiple sources courtside reported Hull told Wilson, "Enjoy your last game as MVP because next year belongs to Caitlyn." Wilson immediately tried to get at Hull, but Becky Hammon had to physically restrain her own player. The incident wasn't shown on the broadcast, but videos from fans in the arena went viral within minutes. The fourth quarter turned into complete chaos. With Indiana up by 15, Wilson started playing desperate basketball. She was throwing elbows on every screen, complaining after every call, and at one point even shoved a referee who had to be replaced. The technical fouls started piling up, and Wilson finished with 3 of them, 1 short of an automatic ejection. But the most embarrassing moment came with 2 minutes left when Boston blocked Wilson's shot so hard it flew into the third row. The Indiana bench erupted, and Wilson just stood there frozen in disbelief. After the final buzzer sounded, with Indiana winning 98-79, Wilson did something unprecedented. She walked straight to the tunnel without acknowledging anyone, not even her own teammates. Hammond tried to grab her arm, but Wilson yanked it away and disappeared. The post-game press conference was supposed to start 20 minutes later, but Wilson never showed up. The Aces PR team claimed she was dealing with a personal matter, but everyone knew the truth. She couldn't handle getting dominated by a depleted Fever team. Subscribe right now if you want more exclusive WNBA coverage because this story is far from over. Hull wasn't done though. In her post-game interview, she delivered the most savage quote of the playoffs, saying some players can only win when the refs help them. And tonight, the refs couldn't save anyone. When asked if she was specifically talking about Wilson, Hull just smiled and said, "I think everyone watching knows exactly who I'm talking about." The clip has already been viewed over 10 million times on social media. But here's what makes this even more interesting. Sources inside the Aces' locker room are reporting major friction between Wilson and several teammates. Apparently, Wilson blamed Chelsea Gray for not getting her the ball enough despite Gray dishing out 12 assists. Jackie Young was overheard telling friends that Wilson's attitude is becoming a real problem and affecting team chemistry. Even Hammond seemed frustrated in her press conference, admitting we have some things to figure out internally. The statistical domination by Indiana was absolutely brutal. They out-rebounded Vegas 52-31, including 21 offensive rebounds. Boston finished with 18 points, 16 rebounds, and 7 blocks while holding Wilson to just 11 points on 28 shots. That's the worst shooting performance by any MVP in playoff history. Mitchell added 34 points, and Hull chipped in with 19, including 5 three-pointers that completely demoralized the Vegas crowd. What nobody's talking about yet is the referee situation that's developing. The league office is reportedly reviewing Wilson's conduct and considering additional punishment beyond the 3 technical fouls. If she gets suspended for Game 2 of this series, the Aces season could be over before it really begins. There's also word that the Players Association might get involved after Wilson's elbow on Hull, which several former players have called dirty and intentional. The backstory here makes this even more dramatic. Wilson and Hull have history dating back to last season when Hull called out Wilson for stat padding in a blowout win. Wilson responded by saying Hull was irrelevant and would be out of the league in 2 years. Well, Hull just signed a 3-year extension worth $12 million and made Wilson look irrelevant on national television. The karma couldn't be more perfect. Meanwhile, Caitlyn Clark was spotted on crutches at the game supporting her teammates from the bench. Despite missing 3 straight games with her ankle injury, Clark has been at every practice helping coach the younger players. Her presence was definitely felt as the Fever played with incredible energy and passion. Clark even got involved during timeouts, drawing up plays and motivating her teammates. Several players credited her leadership as a major factor in their dominant performance. The implications of this loss go way beyond just one game. Vegas was supposed to cruise to a 3rd straight championship. They had the best record in the league, home court advantage throughout the playoffs, and the MVP leading the way. Now they're facing legitimate questions about whether this dynasty is crumbling. The Western Conference is loaded with hungry teams, and if Vegas can't handle an injured Indiana team, how can they beat a fully healthy Phoenix or Seattle squad? Social media absolutely exploded after the game, with WNBA Twitter having a field day. The hashtag #WilsonExposed was trending #1 worldwide within an hour. Memes of Wilson's shocked face after getting blocked by Boston flooded every platform. Even current NBA players were chiming in, with Draymond Green posting Wilson got humbled tonight and needed it. The disrespect toward Hull and Indiana all season finally caught up to them. But the real story is what this means for the MVP race next season. Wilson has won it 3 times, but her reputation took a massive hit with this meltdown. Players around the league are taking notice that when the pressure was highest and the lights were brightest, Wilson completely folded. Meanwhile, young stars like Clark, when healthy, Boston and Hull are showing they're ready to take over the league. The changing of the guard might be happening right before our eyes. The Fever organization deserves massive credit for how they prepared for this game. Despite having 8 players available and practicing with just 7 at times due to injuries, they came out with perfect execution. Sides revealed they spent hours studying film and found specific weaknesses in Vegas's defense they could exploit. Every player knew their role and executed flawlessly. This wasn't luck or a fluke. This was brilliant coaching and incredible heart from players who refused to quit. Looking ahead to Game 2 on January 7th, the pressure is entirely on Vegas now. They have to win at home or their season is over. Reports from Vegas practice indicate tensions are still high, with Wilson refusing to speak to media and keeping to herself. Hammond canceled their usual open practice, citing the need for private team meetings. Whatever happens in Game 2, the drama between Wilson and Hull is guaranteed to continue. The league office is also facing scrutiny for how they've handled the officiating in this series. The elbow from Wilson was just the latest in a pattern of questionable calls that seemed to favor Vegas. Former referee Steve Javi even said on a podcast that Wilson gets away with more contact than any player he's ever seen. The double standard is becoming impossible to ignore, and fans are demanding accountability. This game will go down as one of the most shocking upsets in WNBA playoff history. A depleted 8-player Fever roster walked into the defending champions building and absolutely destroyed them. Wilson's legacy took a massive hit with her behavior and performance. Hull emerged as a legitimate star who isn't afraid of anyone, and the entire landscape of the league might have just shifted in one incredible night. The Fever proved that heart, preparation, and teamwork can overcome talent when that talent gets exposed under pressure. Wilson learned the hard way that reputation means nothing when you can't back it up when it matters most.